Good morning, everyone. January 18th, 2021, Dr. Martin Luther King Day, a beautiful day. I know most of you, if not everybody, has a holiday today. Shout out to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He obviously was a revolutionary. That goes without saying. I think he's a big reason that I'm even able to do this show today. So shout out to Dr. Martin Luther King. But let's just jump right in today and dive right into it. I want to talk about, obviously, if you didn't read the title, how the rich get richer and how the system is made for the poor to stay poor. A lot of people are arguing over Biden's new Save America plan is what he's calling it. And there's a lot of money going towards small businesses and a lot of money going towards the Small Businesses Association and trying to save paychecks. That's the Small Business Administration and saving the you know what I'm talking about. So, but the big argumentative side of everything, or the big topic, if you want to call it that, is it's two actually. Biden in the plan said that since $600 was already given to everyone for stimulus checks, to make it $2,000, what we should do is we should give an additional $1,400. So $1,400 plus the sun is loving me right now. But $1,400 plus the $600, will equal $2,000, and that will be the equivalent of what we were supposed to get in the first place. A lot of people are complaining, saying no, we need an additional $2,000, and we'll dive into that and we'll talk about that. But the second topic that everyone is arguing about is the $15 hour minimum wage. Right now, I believe federally the minimum wage is $7.25. I live in New Jersey, and the minimum wage just went up again January 1st to $12 an hour. Our governor, Phil Murphy, created a plan where it would go up, $1 a year until 2024 to ultimately reach $15 an hour. So for us, that's not like a big change. We were headed towards that direction anyway. But a lot of people are arguing over whether $15 an hour for a minimum wage is first justifiable, and then two, is it even viable? Is it doable, for lack of a better term? Can we even do something like this? And I don't think that I'll dive into topic 2 first. I don't think it should be that much of an argument, to be very honest. I really don't think it should be that much of an argument, because there's kind of two sides to the argument. On one side, we have people saying if the minimum wage goes up, the cost of living will go up. And if people haven't really noticed, that's happening anyway. I've been reading a lot. I did obviously my research for this, and I've been reading a lot of anecdotal evidence, meaning people's testaments, not really like the facts, but people's testaments. And the evidence is like really glaring because the minimum wage hasn't gone up in years. Federal minimum wage hasn't gone up in years, but the cost of living already has. Like, I'm just going to read some of the tweets that I saw. So this one woman said, in 1998, I worked at Wendy's and made $7.25 an hour, the current federal minimum wage. A medium number 6 combo after taxes came out to $4.45. Today, that same combo runs you $9, yet the minimum wage is still the same. So when you say doubling the minimum wage will double prices, I don't know what you're talking about. And she obviously has a very good point. Everyone is saying that all these prices will go up if the minimum wage goes up, but that has already happened. And the minimum wage has stayed the same. There's been research done that says if the if the minimum wage went up how it was supposed to, following the trends of the prices of homes going up, the prices of, when I say homes, I mean the cost of living in those homes, like apartments and things like that. I have those numbers as well. If the minimum wage continued going up the way it was supposed to, it would actually be $24 an hour. So a $15 an hour minimum wage in 2021 and forward shouldn't be that mind-blowing to a lot of people. A lot of people have reacted in ways like, oh my gosh, we can't do this. But, and this is obviously a touchy subject, but we have to get to it. Most of the people that are saying that are ones that don't want their jobs to feel meaningless or seem like it's minimum wage quality. I read this one, again, anecdotal evidence, this one guy from Amazon who makes like $16.50. He said, oh my gosh, like I do this and do that, and it's about to be minimum wage. Like, oh no. And I feel like people are getting angry at the wrong things. They're saying, oh my gosh, my job is about to be equivalent to minimum wage. But they don't argue. That guy needs to talk about his big boss, Jeff Bezos, not paying not just him but the entire company enough. And I've always applauded Amazon for they actually were one of the first companies to make a pact and said we're going to pay a quote unquote livable wage and pay $15 an hour, and it's going to go up little by little. And they've been doing that since about 2016, 2015. So I will give them their credit for that. But the amount of money that they make, not only them as a company, but their boss as well, Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, as much money as they make, they should be paying more money to their employees. Not just like, oh, you guys should be happy that we're giving you $15 an hour, or in that guy's case, $16.50. Amazon is $1 trillion company, but with a T. We always talk about B's with billions and like, oh, this guy's a billionaire, or that guy, or this company is worth so many billions. Amazon is $1 trillion company with a T. And if when I was doing my research, I was like, oh, I should teach people how they come up with these evaluations. People were probably like, yo, like, how can you even say that a company is worth $1 trillion or 200 billion or 1 million? It's harder for private companies, but for a public company, there's actually a formula. You can easily look it up yourself. If you want to, what you do is you take the share price of the company, and then you take how many, what they call outstanding shares are out there. So just for simple math, if there was a company with 1 million shares out there and the stock price was $100 flat, the company would be 100 times a million. $100 million is what the company would be worth. So if they were going to be sold, if they were like I said, if you guys have listened to me in the past, I really think that Microsoft should buy Clubhouse. So if Clubhouse was already a public company, Microsoft would just say, okay, you guys have $100 share price, you have you have 1 million shares outstanding, that's $100 million what you guys worth. To incentivize you guys to take this offer, we'll pay you $150 million or $200 million, double the stock price, or double the what it's worth. You know what I mean? It'd be the same as if you went and bought like how people are doing the PlayStation 5. I mean, they went and bought it for $500, now they're trying to sell it for $750 or $1,000. It's the same concept. So yeah, to stay on topic, honestly, that's a great segue too, because we need to talk about incentives. Like I just said, we need to talk about incentives, and specifically, and I'm going to be picking on Amazon this whole time because of how much money they have, and because they're so publicly known to the world as the kind of like the rich bad guy of the movie. So it's easier to pick on them. So let's just dive into incentives. So if those of you that don't know, and this is why I also believe that Amazon and Jeff Bezos need to pay their employees more money. As of in 2018, and I believe it's not revenue, it's profit. I'm even going to do a quick Google search. Amazon profit 2018, just so you guys can do it right with me. Their revenue in 2018 was $232 billion. So the difference between revenue and profit is revenue is how much money you made, period. And profit is however much you made the revenue minus however much it cost you to get there. Your cost of operating is what they call it, operation cost. So after subtracting everything that they did, paying their employees and they're giving away like dividends, giving all their stuff, they still came up with $11 billion in profit, with a B, profit. And on that, you would think, okay, then they have to pay their fair share of taxes, of course. How much did they make after taxes? They didn't pay any taxes on that money. They paid $0 in taxes. So to argue and to say that they shouldn't pay their employees more is absurd. It's blasphemous, and that's before. And this is in 2018, before the pandemic, before they got even richer. And we don't have the numbers on that yet. Those numbers will come out this year. It's always about a year and a half behind. I don't even believe the numbers for 2019 just came out at the end of 2020. So it's always like a year behind. So we won't have the 2020 numbers for a little while. But they didn't pay taxes in 2019 either. They paid $0 in taxes. So that's 2 years back to back. And like I said, I want to talk about incentives and why. I want to talk about incentives, and I want to talk about capitalism, because capitalism is the reason that they're allowed to do this. And I'm not completely opposed to capitalism, but I'm opposed to the way that capitalism has brought about the title of this podcast, or the title of how the rich get rich and the poor stay poor. That's how capitalism has shaped itself. It didn't start out that way, but that's how it shaped itself. So let's talk about incentives first, like I just said. People like Jeff Bezos are more incentivized. They're almost just as incentivized as you to keep their money. So just to do a quick comparison, if you, for example, had let's just call every time you get $1,000, let's just call it $1 billion for Jeff Bezos. So for us, 100. If we only had $1,000, 100 would be like, I can spend it, but I'm not trying to spend it. I mean, I can go buy those Jordans or something if I really want them, but I'm not trying to spend it. So let's just, like I said, it's for every 1,000 you get, let's just call it 1 billion, 10 billion. Doesn't really matter for the comparison. So let's just say you had 10,000, which is the equivalent of Jeff Bezos having his 10 billion or 100 billion, whatever you want to say. What incentives would you have, just a regular person, incentives would you have to give a homeless guy on the street, for example, not just $1 or something, $2, but $100 or $1,000 every time that you walk by them, or just because someone wrote you a letter or something, you know? If they said, yo, I'm down bad out here and my kids need this and that, this and that, and you're like, yo, I have my own issues too. I have a family. I'm going through a divorce. I had to pay my wife half of all my money. You would be like, yeah, I'm good over here, but what incentives do you have to pay that? So we look at the rich and we want them to kind of fill our pockets just as much as as they filled their own. But the incentives don't really play towards that. And let's talk about his company as well, because Amazon also has incentives. We talked about how Amazon didn't pay any money in taxes 2018 and 2019, $0. And we always talk about that and get angry at the company, and we don't get angry at the rule book. There are rules established that have allowed them to not pay that money. And if the rules allow you to do that, you are incentivized to do so. If someone said, yo, you should willingly pay 10% of all your money to taxes, or 30. As of 2019, the federal tax was about 25%. So you should pay 25% of your profits. If the rule book also says if you do this, and that, you can pay zero, you are incentivized, therefore, to instead of paying 25% of your profits, to do whatever it takes to pay zero. And I'm going to give a comparison as well. And this all ties into capitalism and, once again, incentives. If there was a rule book, let's just say tomorrow they changed the law that said we're going to allow people to steal blatantly, like food, I'm going to use food specifically, steal food under 3 conditions. It doesn't matter if we see you or anything. Under 3 conditions: you have to get the food, get out the door without us catching you, and then you have to get out the parking lot. Those 3 things. If you're able to do those things, we won't chase you, we won't arrest you, and you still will be allowed back into the store. So there's going to be a hierarchy of people from there. Someone that is homeless, for example, they might have a book bag or something, and they might steal a juice, or they might steal some peanut butter and some bread or something like that, because that's all they really have the means to do so, right? And then there's going to be maybe a mom or a family, and they buy regular groceries, but then underneath the cart they steal a lot more. Then there's going to be the comparisons of Jeff Bezos, and stay with me for this. Imagine if, and Jeff Bezos / Amazon, they're one entity right now for this comparison. Imagine if, for him, he said, okay, if this is the case, all I have to do to make a profit, or to make this work for me, is to pay people to get me more groceries than what I'm paying them for. So that same homeless person, he might get him and say, yo, I'll pay you $50 every time you steal me $100 or $200 worth of groceries. And then that works like the first 5 times or something. And then he says, you know what? I'm going to get 5 more of him. So he's going to pay them $50 each. So that's $250 for every $100 in groceries that they steal. That's $500. And he's incentivized to do so, because rather than spend the $100 in groceries, if he pays them $50, he's getting his money back, right? So, and for the people looking around at these homeless people, or they don't have to be homeless, that's just an example. For these people that are stealing, these people are watching them steal and say, yo, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're stealing so much stuff. They've devised a plan. Some are running out the back door, some are running out the front door, and they just can't catch them. They just can't stop them. They know they're going to be stealing, but they can't catch them. Everyone is looking around and getting angry at the people that are stealing, instead of getting angry at the rule book that's allowing these people to steal. So in that scenario, Jeff Bezos / Amazon is obviously the person at the top paying the $50 for the $100 worth of groceries. But you know who the people stealing are? They're the ones, the accountants and the CPAs that he pays all these hundreds of thousands of dollars, or even millions of dollars, and their companies as well. It's like I said earlier, it's a hierarchy, and there's incentives. If Amazon signs our company, ABC Accounting, if he signs with us and says we'll give you whatever money it takes for you guys to get us to $0 worth of taxes, and then it goes down and you're the accountant, your boss of ABC Accounting says do whatever research you have to do to get them their lowest amount, that's what they're going to do. So everyone can get so upset with Jeff Bezos and Amazon and Microsoft and whoever else doesn't pay taxes, but it's incentivized for everyone on that ladder to do so. If I'm the accountant at ABC, if I can get Jeff Bezos the lowest amount, my boss might give me a raise. If I'm the manager, the CEO of ABC Accounting, Amazon and companies around the world see that I can get Amazon $0 worth of taxes. Now Walmart might sign me. Now Google might sign me. So these are just some ways in which the rich stay rich and the poor the system is made out for the poor to stay poor, because there's incentives based off of these. And if anything is to change, we have to change the rule book, which goes back to what I was saying earlier, capitalism. Capitalism is not a, how do I word this? Capitalism in itself is not made to be bad. Nothing is made, or nothing is going to be made to be bad. It's the way that the system and the rule books have been played out for it to end up this way. I'm an entrepreneur. My friends are entrepreneurs. And capitalism, or the capitalistic society, is the only reason we're allowed to do those things. For those that don't know, like what I'm even talking about, the definition of capitalism is allowing for private businesses to run for a profit and not be stopped by public entities. Like the government can't say you can't sell this or can't do that. There's obviously regulations with the SEC, with public companies, or the FDA not letting them put drugs in our bread or things like that. But they don't tell you, hey, you can't, like Amazon, you can't sell products online. They don't step in and say that. They allow you to start your private business and sell what you want. But, a big but, the way that capitalism has played out in our society, and the propaganda behind it, is why people that are at the bottom stay at the bottom, and why people that are at the top stay at the top. And I didn't realize this until like I said earlier, people were arguing over $15 a minimum wage. The same people that were arguing over that were arguing over whether we should be voting for Biden or Trump, because Biden, was going to be raising taxes. Biden was saying that he was going to raise taxes for people that made over $400,000. And people that make $30,000 were arguing and saying, well, I want to be up there one day, so I gotta vote for Trump now, so because Biden's finna change the taxes on me. Sir, you have 4 kids and make and don't have a pension and make $36,000 a year. The taxes going up you shouldn't be worried about that. But that's the propaganda. They tell you you too can be Elon Musk. You too can be Jeff Bezos if you work hard enough. And I just had to write down some stats to show people that it's not made for us to get to the top like these people. So the average worker in America makes, I'm going to read it out to you guys, but just for my math, I used 50,000. But the average worker in America makes $49,764. So once again, let's just say 50,000. If you wanted to have as much money as Jeff Bezos, you'd have to work for 4,111,405 years. 4 million years. And I'll just give you another one, so people can understand how much money that this man has, and that if you're making $30,000 and you don't create a company like Amazon, or you don't make a Microsoft like Bill Gates, like Elon Musk, like Jeff Bezos, this amount of wealth, not wealth in general, because we're going to talk about how building real wealth for yourself is obviously attainable, but trying to chase these people and this type of wealth it's not even feasible. It's not even imaginable. So, just to give you another one, just so people can understand the sheer impossibility of this man's wealth. If you were immortal and you got a job that paid you $8,000 an hour, starting from 0 AD, the beginning, what do they call that? The birth of Christ, starting from 0 AD to now. You were immortal. You never stopped working a minute, and you were getting paid $8,000 an hour, and you loved money. So you never stopped working for a minute. You still wouldn't even have close to Jeff Bezos' money. You would have $141 billion, and you'd be the 4th richest guy in the world, which is cool. But it took you 2,021 years to get there, and you still would only be the 4th richest person in the world right now. In 2020, during the pandemic, while everybody was dying and there was unemployment rates touched higher in America than since the Great Depression. That unemployment rates were higher in 2020 than they were in the Great Depression. While America was going through that, Jeff Bezos made $13 billion in one day, which is more than the entire yearly gross domestic product of Madagascar, which people might say, oh, it's a small country. They have 26 million people. So, chasing capitalism has made people like Jeff Bezos richer than life itself. And the system has been made out for them to stay up there and to stay there. While his workers they look at him or look up like, oh, everyone else, the federal minimum wage is $7.25 and Amazon pays us $16.50. Yay, we're making out like winners. When they didn't pay they paid $0 in taxes on $11 billion profit. It doesn't make any sense. And I've also seen people that are arguing over the Save America plan, Biden's new rescue plan. Once he gets into office after inauguration, people are arguing over the $15 an hour minimum wage, but the most of the people that are arguing are the ones that make $19 an hour or $20 an hour, and they don't want to feel like, oh wow, this person that works at a restaurant, or this person that works at Walmart or McDonald's or whatever job you want to name, oh my gosh, they make as much as me. Instead of arguing with the people that are at the bottom, that are just trying to make a livable wage, why are we not arguing with the people at the top that just need to pay more? People are arguing like, oh my gosh, I make $20 an hour. There was I'll see if I can find this tweet. There was a tweet where a guy said, oh my gosh, I make planes and he makes $19.50 an hour. And he was like, someone that flips burgers is going to make close to what I make. That's just not fair. Then you should just be paid more money, sir. It shouldn't be, we should keep these people down and people should remain poor because you are insecure about your job, how much money you make. Let's see if I can find this one. Yeah, there's been people making jokes at $15 minimum wage. How am I supposed to feel better about my position in the social hierarchy if there aren't millions of people unnecessarily suffering beneath me? Like that's how people are looking at this. And I've been seeing a lot of people argue over whether because students are I don't want to word this. They're saying that the people that make minimum wage, which this isn't true, this isn't factual at all, but people are using and saying, oh, most of the people that make minimum wage are students, whether they're in college or whether they're in high school, and do they really deserve or do they really need $15 an hour minimum wage? And I've been seeing, I saw an awesome tweet that someone said, if high schoolers don't deserve if they're bad laborers and don't deserve $15 an hour, then why is the government so heavy in recruiting them to our army? If they're such bad laborers and they don't deserve this money, then obviously they would be bad soldiers, right? But obviously that's not the case. So, in general, it's just the system's just not made currently out for people to move through as that person said, through the social hierarchy as we think. There's been, like I said, it's propaganda based. They tell us, hey, go to school, you can get a good job, and then you can get a 401k, and you'll be straight. But what ends up happening is you do go to school, you take out, on average, people take out $50,000 to $60,000 worth of debt, and then you don't get a job with your degree, and then you're not straight. And that's not just the average person's story. That's everyone's story. That's hundreds of millions of people's story. And what ends up happening is where we are right now, where the 1% controlled 90% of all the wealth. Not just in America. In America, that's true, but that's also true for the entire world. The 1% wealthy controlled like 90% of the entire wealth of America. It doesn't even make sense. And people think that, honestly, I don't know the solutions. I'm thinking of solutions. That's why I'm pausing before I speak. Is it governmental? Is it right now a trending topic is the government trying to break up all these big companies. They're talking about breaking up Facebook because Facebook owns WhatsApp and they own Instagram and they own Oculus. They own all these companies, so they've been talking about breaking them up because they feel like they've been monopolizing and they haven't been acting fairly. Same thing with Google. Google's been accused of, because obviously Google owns YouTube and they own Android and they own many other companies, but they've been accused of putting their, when someone wants to search, for example, cat videos, that's just an example. When someone wants to search those, they've been accused of only putting YouTube videos. If someone was to Google that, the search immediately goes to YouTube. And a lot of other video companies have complained to the SEC in the government, saying that if this is monopolization, they're putting their company to the top, which isn't fair. And we'll see what happens with that. But that's just one way that we can try to fight the system. But there has to be some form of solution. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open up the floor and see if any of my live viewers have any solutions. If not, we're going to keep going and churning at this. And we're going to, instead of talking about why the $15 minimum wage is a problem, we're going to talk about how it's going to actually solve a lot of the problems that we have now. Let's see. All right, I just opened up the floor. All right, no questions. Let's keep churning at this. So $15 an hour. How is that going to solve the issues that we have now? Well, there's a lot of variables that people don't take into account. So when we talk about $15 minimum wage, like I said, a lot of society thinks, oh, well, you're talking about the 16-year-old that's going to high school in the suburbs, lives with his family, and he just wants to get a good job. What we're not talking about is someone that was a felon, that they were in jail for 5 years and now they don't have opportunities like a lot of other people. They've been looking for any form of job and they can't find one. And so do we look at them as less now? They're not supposed to get a job. They're supposed to go broke. This would allow them to get a job and get a livable wage. Another one that we're not thinking about, and I will admit I wasn't thinking about either. I saw this once again on Twitter. A woman said that a lot of people don't talk about orphans or people that are in the system that are eligible to work but don't, or rather they do but they can't make a livable wage. So they're kind of stuck in their system, and once they get out of the system at, let's say, 18, they're not given anything. They're not like, oh, here's your golden road to success. They end up living on the street, And even if they do go get that $7.25 minimum wage job, there's still no path for them. They're still broke, and they end up living on the street. Another good stat that I saw was that in 2009, not even going back to the 60s or anything like that, just 2009, and this is from Just Economics if you want to Google this yourself. In 2009, the minimum wage was $7.25, and on average for a 2-bedroom fair market house for rent was about $690 a month, and that's on average. In New Jersey, we know that's that's cheap for New Jersey, but in 2020 on average, it was $1,255 a month for the same exact home, but the minimum wage had not gone up. So the rent price had doubled, but the minimum wage had stayed the same. And people are expecting that to happen when the minimum wage does go up. But I feel like they need to, and like I said earlier, with capitalism, it's really hard for the government to step in and put regulations on what people are allowed to do. But there needs to be some form of price gouging. Like, they need to stop price gouging. So if the minimum wage goes up, they can't say, you know what, milk is actually $6 now. Bread is actually $4. Just one cereal box, $10. There needs to be some form of regulation so that we can stop price gouging. And if there is, there will probably be a huge fight with that. The companies, that is, because once again, they are incentivized to raise the prices. If you're the CEO of, I'm just going to say Walmart. If you're the CEO of Walmart, and your main duty is to get as much value as you can for your stockholders, and that's how you get paid, and that's how you feed your children, then, and your stockholders are now losing money, and they're talking about firing you because you won't raise the price of cereal from $5 to $7.50, you are now incentivized to do so, even though that puts millions of Americans. Walmart is an international company, just not just Americans, but anywhere. Even if that puts people out of place, you're still incentivized to do so because you don't have to see them on a daily. You don't have to watch these people like claw for money or try to stay afloat. All right, we have a question. The floor is still open. Let's see. All right, I think I got you up here.
I was pulling the phone out of my pocket.
What's up, man?
Well, one thing I was talking there, I was actually talking with somebody at work about is the fact that they might price gouge, but it might not be a price gouge. It might just be a steady raise, which would also just set people off, but it might be a better solution to it. So instead of milk going up from, $2 to $8, instead, every year it's probably going up $1, and people are instead getting a different amount of money, so they can save up a little bit more and raise the prices, progressively.
Yeah, I get what you mean completely. The unfortunate thing about that, and I mean this goes with everything that I was talking about before, people don't understand that. Like, I know everyone probably hears their parents and their grandparents talk like, oh, milk used to be 10 cents or candy bars used to be to 2 cents. The prices have gone up gradually, and the money hasn't, or at least not our money, not the minimum wage. I mean, see, if you look at, you can do, like I said, anything I say, I want obviously people to do their own research, so you can look this up and fact check it yourself as well. if you look up the increases of wealth of CEOs of companies from you can look at 75, from 1975 to now, it's gone up thousands of percents. But the average salary in America has gone up maybe 10-ish percent, maybe 20. And that might be a little bit of a gas by itself. I believe that the average, it might have even gone down. I believe the average salary in the 80s was in like the 50s, like 52-ish thousand. And I just told you guys earlier, the average salary now is $49,764. So, and like I said, you can fact check that yourself, but I know as a fact that people that run the companies, the CEOs, their salaries have gone up exponentially, which once again incentivizes people to start companies. But there's only going to be that's why there's only one guy that's ever hit $200 billion, and there's 7 billion people on the planet, and there's probably been hundreds of billions of people that have been alive. So this is there's got to be some form of solution that we can do. And and thank you for saying about the price gouging. That's been happening anyway. So it wouldn't surprise me if they did that. If they said, well, because what I think a lot of people don't understand is they're not just going to say, when I say they, the government isn't just going to say, oh, well, on 2022 we're going to do $15 an hour. That's not how that's going to work. Just like how they're doing in New Jersey. In New Jersey in 2018, they started to raise their minimum wage gradually. So it started off at $10 on July of 20. That might have been 19. $10 or 11. I think it was 11 then. And then in 2020 it went to it was 10. It was 10. And then 2020, January 1st, 2020 it went to $11. And then now, as of January 1st, 2021, it went to 12. And then 2022 it'll be 13, 23 it'll be 14, and 24 it'll ultimately get to 15. That's most likely how the government will do it as well. They'll probably start off. It'll probably be a fierce jump from $7.25 to something like $9 or $9.50 or $10, and then they'll probably do a gradual to 11 and then 12. That they would have to do it that way. Because I know a lot of maybe that's why people are saying that businesses are going to go broke, because they think it's going to be something instant. But that would be the case. A lot of businesses would go broke, and there would be a lot more unemployment than there is now. If immediately you were used to paying your server, or the serving industry is a little different because they make money off tips and stuff. But if you're used to paying your fry cook, I don't know, $7.25, and then the next day you had to pay him $15 an hour, then you would probably cut half your staff, which would then make unemployment once again exponential. For those that don't know either, unemployment is in what they call a healthy economy. Unemployment it always shifts somewhere between 3-ish to 4%, but sits really at 3.5. The lowest we've seen is like 2. They say if there's actually if the unemployment actually falls, or I guess you would say falls to 2-ish to 1%, the economics, like the professionals, they say that's actually bad, and that indicates some type of downturn. But I don't think we've ever seen 2 or 1%. But I say all that to say the unemployment rate right now is about 8 or 9%, and when it was at its worst during the pandemic, it was at about 20. The highest I saw it go was 23 to 24%, which means that if you I mean, that's a big round, but if you round up to 25%, that means 1/4 of all of working Americans were unemployed. So, I mean, there has to be some type of solution. There's obviously about to be a new normal with, we've seen the work at home craze, and we've seen the regulations of masks and when you are or aren't allowed to go to a store. There's about to be a new normal. So hopefully with that there comes a new normal of what society's going to look like, or what it means to be the CEO of a company. And I don't want to trash Jeff Bezos or even Elon Musk. Elon Musk is probably like one of my greatest role model right now, and he really is doing what he can to show people that money doesn't mean anything to him. He's selling all his possessions. I mean, that I don't really understand, but he is selling all his possessions. He said he doesn't need any possessions. So he had like 4 houses. He sold 3 of them so far. He had like he really likes cars. He's been selling all his cars because he's been telling people, like, I don't need these possessions, nor do I need this money. When he just the other day, his stock went up and he became the richest guy in the world. He said, oh, okay, ... back to work, is what he tweeted. Because he's like, he really doesn't care about that. And people were saying after that, like, you need to give more money, you need to do this, you need to do that. He said, if there's any way that I can help, I really will. He said his main goal is to make Earth sustainable and then get us to Mars. Those are truly the only 2 things that crazy guy cares about. And same thing with Jeff Bezos. Like I said, I don't want to trash him because the amount of money that he does give, I mean, compared to his wealth, it's quote unquote not a lot, but it's still amounts of wealth that normal, when I say normal lightly, but normal / average people wouldn't see in their entire lifetimes. He just donated like $1 billion to somewhere. And he's also, I mean, that man is rich. Each year he takes out, the SEC allows you twice a year if you're that high. If you're the CEO of a company, or if you're in the C-suite, as they call it, CEO, CFO, if you're up that high in the company, you're not really allowed to touch your stock, because anything that you do can indicate, or how do I want to word this? Anything that you do can make it sway too much. So if Jeff Bezos on a random Tuesday said, actually, I want some money, and sold his stock would probably fall or collapse. And the SEC said that's not really fair, so they give them twice a year to, I believe it's the beginning of the second quarter and the beginning of the fourth quarter, they allow them to sell their stock or buy more stock. And each year he has to announce it, because he doesn't want them to think, oh, he doesn't believe in the company anymore. He just has so much money. Jeff Bezos sells like half a stock each year to make a couple $1 billion, and he funds his own rocket ship company called Blue Origin, and he funds it with $1 billion each year. So he has money to give, is what I'm saying. And he does donate. He's trying to help Earth be green, as they say. Same thing with Elon Musk. I mean, I can't talk any crap about Bill Gates. Bill Gates is, in his lifetime, has donated over like $45 billion, which by itself doesn't even sound fathomable. So it would take a collective, hundreds of millions of people, to make that much money in their lifetimes combined, and he has donated that much money. Oh, man. So, to wrap up the show and try to get to the Q&A portion of everything. Earlier in the show, in the beginning, I had to give a big shout out to the biggest OG of them all, Dr. Martin Luther King. Like I said, without him, I probably wouldn't be able to make this show. So shout out to him, and anyone that has a holiday today. Just try to reflect and see how we can do better. And I know a lot of people think, with the way race relations have been right now, that our our country hasn't changed much, but that's not true. That would be disrespectful to Dr. King to say that nothing has changed since the 60s. So, like I said, big shout out to him. And then we dove right into the incentives of why the rich stay rich and why the poor, unfortunately, stay poor. And then we dove into capitalism and the capitalistic society we have now. And we talked about how Jeff Bezos has enough money to become Lex Luthor. So, like I said, I'll open the floor for any questions. If there are none, I'll let everybody get to their day and start this beautiful Monday, all right? What's up?
Good morning.
Good morning, man. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's a beautiful Monday out here. What would you like to say?
I just wanted to get your thoughts. So we know this whole thing about us getting stimulus checks and things got like popularized, especially in 2020. So where do you think like the role of the government, like going back to this whole like government structure kind of discussion, where do you think like the role of the government really is to push out those stimulus checks to kind of balance out the economy when it's going through like hard times or just different things where people like are arguing about minimum wage and these big things like why the rich so rich?
It's a great question. So as this world isn't perfect. Let me say that first. So in a general standpoint, I don't think the government, if they say they're going to stay out, then they should stay out of everything. Like that's my utopian viewpoint of it. If they say we're not going to help companies, so that means we can't really help the people either. All right, cool. I mean, if you're going to stay out, then stay out. However, the fact that America's history, they've bailed out banks and they've bailed out Wall Street and they've bailed out like all these companies with $1 trillion packages. They have to help the people. You literally have to. If you don't, then you're saying that these companies mean more or matter more than your population, than your civilians. I mean, and people would argue, I guess, that they have shown that. So to answer your direct question, I think it's their duty as of right now to make sure that the people are taken care of. And just from an economic standpoint, I don't know, people have been arguing over like, oh, where's this money going to go? This money is going to go right back into the economy. Like it's not fabricated, or it's not crazy to think, oh, if they take out $2 trillion and give it to people's pockets, that is not about to come right back. I mean, people have bills. People are dying out here. They're just to make rent or make or to get food. It's literally going to go right back to the I mean, maybe it won't go back to the government, because we just talked about, and I'm not trying to make a joke, but we just talked about how Amazon doesn't pay taxes. So if you give me a $2,000 stimulus check and I go, oh, because of the pandemic, I don't want to go outside, I'm going to order Amazon delivers food, they deliver toilet paper, they deliver anything and everything you need. So if I say I'm going to spend $1,000 on my bills, and I'm going to spend, just for numbers standpoints, I'm going to spend $1,000 at Amazon. I mean, maybe it doesn't go back to the government if Amazon isn't paying taxes. But that was a great question, man. I think it is their duty to help us. I think if you're going to help the companies and bail out Wall Street, bail out the airlines. I mean, the airline industry was about to crash, and they said, "Oh, we got to save them." So, just for example, let's say there's 9. I'm just going to use 10. There's 10 airline companies. If 6 of them are going to go bankrupt, and there was going to be 4, if the government say they're going to stay out, let the 6 go bankrupt. And the people as they say, the strong survive. Let the 6 go bankrupt, and we only have American and Southwest and Emirates and somebody else. I don't know. Emirates isn't even an American company, but you know what I mean. Like, let the strong survive. If that's how they're going to play it, but that's not how they play it. They say, oh, we can't let that happen. So if that's the case, then you can't let your civilians die and struggle. When you bail out these companies that, for lack of a better term, prey on these people, and they, yeah, I mean, If the companies are going to prey on us to get our money, and you're going to help them do that, then you got to let some of them fail and help us. Like, what more can we ask for? Which is where a whole bunch of conspiracy theories come about. People saying that the government wants to end us all and yada 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 because they're not helping us. They want us to die, and I think they're too worried about greasing their pockets to be worried about us dying. I think they could care less or couldn't care any less. Any other questions? Let me ask this. I want to ask a question. Well, if they get $1,400, $2,000, $2,400, whatever they get, what are you guys going to do with your stimulus check? I know with my stimulus check. Oh, all right. Preston wants to speak. What's up, man? What's up? Good morning. What you about to do with your stimulus check?
The main factor, relying on my credit getting better in the next couple of months. I am planning on using it for a down payment to lease a house so I can start doing Airbnb. That's what I'm going to do.
That's a good plan. That's a real good plan.
But it does, like someone said before, it does beg the question, or just regarding to, the poor staying poor, a lot of people are going to take their stimulus check and just buy, a Gucci belt or something like that. And, I mean, yeah, I guess that does stimulate the economy, but I don't know. I feel like people should definitely take that free money and use it as an opportunity to invest in something and invest in themselves, it's not every day. You just get, $1,400 or $2,000, whatever it is they're giving us. I don't even know. I think it was supposed to be 2 racks before. Now it's 600. Some people already got the 600, and now they're saying they're going to give us more. I think at the end of the day, it's just about trying to make the most out of that money. Obviously, if you're on the lower end of the spectrum and you actually have bills to pay and stuff, then that's perfectly justified. But yeah, I think everyone needs to flip their stimulus checks.
I can definitely agree about the there's a term for that. I mean, a lot of people know it. What's the other name for it? I forgot. I can't think right now. But it's called it's called commodity fetishism. People wanting to I got this money, so I'm going to buy the Gucci belt so that it looks like I'm richer than you. I think that's, like I said earlier, that's the propaganda of capitalism and why the rich stay rich and why the poor stay poor. Because of that propaganda, that's the reason why people go and buy Kellogg's cereal rather than no name brand. That's why people go and buy Nike over Skechers. It's why people go and buy you can name anything. I could go on and on and on with examples, but that's a form of capitalism and the propaganda that says you aren't cool if you don't have these things. That wasn't just something where society did that. That was put into society using commercials and using a lot of manipulation. That was done purposely.
Built into us at a very young age, also from our peers, especially black people growing up black. It's elementary school and middle school, you got roasted because you didn't have J's, you didn't have the cool shoes. I remember when I was transitioning from elementary to middle school, the cool thing was the sidekick. Everybody had a sidekick. I never got a sidekick, but it was if you didn't have that, you were whack and your parents were broke, and it was our parents are still broke, but they got you a sidekick. That's the only difference. Like you said, it's just the fetishism of commodities, items. You're 8, 9 years old. You don't need I don't know how much that phone costs, but at the time I know it was expensive for a phone, right? You don't need this crazy ass phone that could like do Excel and PowerPoint and stuff. Like that's just not necessary. But yeah, I'm hoping that I think I am kind of seeing a shift in this because people are becoming more financially aware, and not through like the main channels of education like school and stuff. It's a lot to do with social media and like the concepts of like growing wealth and spreading wealth. A lot of that is like starting to become a bigger thing, but at the end of the day, it's still a really big problem in our society.
I agree 100%. I couldn't have said it better myself. But just to touch on that before I wrap it up and end the show, like I said, I don't even blame. I mean, it was the same way, and I think everyone can agree. Yeah, I mean, any kid knows that if you had on J's, if you didn't have on J's, or when I was in high school, it was phone posits. Everybody wanted phone posits, or it was razor phones at one point. It's anything, but that's done purposely. That's not the kid's fault, the parents' fault. That's done purposely. There's propaganda behind that is long before our parents or their parents. It's kind of in our society's blood now. Which, if that doesn't change, then the rich will stay rich and the poor will stay poor. I'm sorry. I gotta cut you off, Preston. I gotta end it, so I gotta cut you off. My bad. You good.
My fault.
You good. So that wraps up today's show. I hope everybody enjoys their Monday, and I will see you guys tomorrow. End of episode 6.